Okay, so I like the idea of dabbling stuff that's not strictly comic books. And recently I started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now the whole reason why I started watching this is my fiance is a massive Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. Like literally, I can blindfold her and just start a random episode and she could tell me exactly what's going on in that episode, right? She lives, breathes, and eats Avatar: The Last Airbender. And honestly, given how many times I've just walked in on her rewatching the show, I've more or less seen all the episodes, but I haven't like sat down and digested the episodes. You know what I mean? Like I haven't like totally understood what was going on. So I decided to sit down and watch it, right? Start watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. And there's a few things about this show. Like one, I understand it's not a anime in the traditional sense. It doesn't really originate from Japan, but it does have like anime themes, right? You can kind of feel it a little bit in the show. Granted, I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to anime. My knowledge of anime is limited to like Dragon Ball, and like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which Moriah made me watch, and I think that's it. I don't think there's any other ones, but the show's got some pretty cool stuff. Season 1 was boring as hell, right? I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm sorry for all you Avatar fans. Season 1 was boring, right? It took everything in me to get myself through that show. But Moriah kept making a really good point and saying that it's all just world building, right? The whole basis behind season 1 is to introduce you to characters and all that kind of stuff so you can kind of go forward from there and then sort of do your own thing, right? Kind of understand everything that's happening in seasons 2 through 3. I'm partway through season 2. I skipped over the episode about Appa's lost days. I saw that episode with Moriah. That episode's sad, man. I don't want to watch Appa go through hell. Like, I don't want to see that, right? Where Appa's just like having a rough time. It's like the Avatar: Last Airbender equivalent of like the commercials with Sarah McLachlan, right? In the arms of an angel and like the sad dog eyes and all that kind of stuff. And like every year dogs, you know, and this, and like you just turn it off. It's that, but Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't want to watch that. So like I skipped over that episode. The characters though, the characters are intriguing to me, right? Katara pisses me off. She's annoying, right? She's always like happiness and clouds and sunshine and everything will be okay. And then Toph is badass. Dude, I love Toph. Oh my God, dude, Toph is amazing. She's like this super hardcore, no-nonsense woman. Moriah told me Toph gets amazing in Legend of Korra, and she told me Katara gets really, really cool at the end of the series. Something about bloodbending or something like that, I don't know. But it's like, it's really, really cool. She told me Katara gets really awesome. Sokka, obviously, is like the comic relief, right? Whatever. And then Aang, right? Aang is interesting. I know enough about Avatar to understand there's a lot of differentiations and like debates out there between like Aang and Korra, which one's better, that like Korra was basically being trained to be an avatar as best they could, even though they kept her sheltered, but she was still incompetent. But Aang was like this kid who was frozen for like 100 years and then like literally was flying by the seat of his pants the whole time, became like one of the best avatars ever. And then there's Zuko, right? Now here's the thing about Zuko, right? Like I understand now why people say Zuko has like the best character arc in the history of like animation, right? Dude, Zuko is legit. Here's the crazy thing. That episode, what was it? Zuko Alone, I think is what it was, when he went, like, he like left Uncle Iroh, which Uncle Iroh is awesome, dude. I love Uncle Iroh, man. He's so cool. Like, I just want to hang out with Uncle Iroh and just be like, hey man, like tell me about how you see stuff. Although it was kind of tear-jerking when like he goes to like the place where his son's buried and like sings that little song, right? Like leaves falling, and it's just like, I was just like, damn. You get what I mean? It's a little rough, right? It's a little rough on the feels, you know. It's a little. It just hits differently, you know. So you know, Zuko Alone. That I think was probably one of the coolest episodes. And Moriah kept telling me that. She kept saying that like Zuko Alone is probably the best episode for the character of Zuko. And I totally get that now, because for Zuko, and honestly, I feel like you can kind of see the progression by the end of season 1, right? But like, and maybe not even really. I guess. It's interesting, right? So let's break this down like a fraction, right? So Zuko, I love the character of Zuko because when you're first introduced to him, he's just like, I gotta make my dad proud, right? Like his dad's a dick. He's done really nothing to make Zuko's life great. He literally burned half his face, right? So it's like, he's like, I wanna make my dad proud so I can earn my dad's honor and all that kind of stuff. That's the driving force behind his life, right? It's the thing that drives Zuko, earning his dad's respect. And he's like constantly chasing after the Avatar. And unlike what you would expect with like Harry Potter or something like like that, like witnessing the kindness of Aang led Zuko to change his ways, and just like the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes bigger. And it's not like that. Instead, it's almost like it comes from Uncle Iroh and like his own personal experiences, right? That Iroh's always kind of imparting these pearls of wisdom that like, hey, your dad's only as relevant as you allow him to be, right? Like if your dad has no value to you, then your dad has no value to you, and that's it, right? Like there's more to this life than trying to make your pops proud, especially when your pops is a dick that's literally trying to conquer the world. So ultimately he kind of goes forward, does his own thing, and then you get to Zuko alone. And I feel like that's really the first time that Zuko's exposed to like what the Fire Nation really is about, right? In the sense that it's like, okay, he's out there, he's helping these people fight off what's supposed to be an army protecting them, but they basically just descended into bandits, right? Because who's gonna stop them, right? The townspeople don't have the balls to do it. And then as soon as Zuko like reveals his identity, that like he's Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation, the whole town that he just protected turns against him. Like they're just like, get out of here. Like even the little kid, right? The little kid's just like, get out of here, man. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And the little kid loves Zuko, right? He thought he was the coolest thing ever, right? And I feel like that's the first time Zuko really grasps just how the Fire Nation is perceived by the rest of the world. And I think like that's really when Zuko starts to change. Now granted, I'm not far enough into the show to know exactly how Zuko progresses as the show goes on. I know he ends up turning against his father later on, right? That much I know, but I'm not far enough in to really grasp how things progress and how things change, man. But I gotta tell you, dude, Avatar: The Last Airbender, man, like I thought it was goofy, right? Like a kid's show, like when like Moriah would watch it, I'm like, why are you watching this? This is a show for kids, right? It's nonsensical. Man, there's some adult themes in this show, man. Like I totally understand like how so many of you guys grew up with this show and you're like, yeah, Avatar is the greatest, right? I totally understand that. You know, how you guys love that now. I mean, it's a cool show, right? It's an interesting show and I'm digging it, right? I'm definitely digging this. What I'm really curious about here is like the progression of Aang, right? Like the whole idea of Aang and like where he ends up being at. Because one of the things that I've learned so far, and specifically I learned it from Zuko, and honestly, it reaffirms the philosophy that I always held before. Violence is not always the answer. That's true, right? Violence is not always the answer. There are always other answers besides violence. However, violence is an answer, and it's usually a very effective one. So, you know, it kind of reaffirms that belief that I have, right? But it's cool, right? I'm really curious to see how Aang progresses and how Aang changes. Now, here's a question that I have for all you guys out there who are huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. What's up with Kyoshi? Because Moriah was recently reading a book called The Rise of Kyoshi, I think it was, and like there's like Kyoshi warriors and all that kind of stuff, which is weird. Sokka's girlfriend became the moon. And I don't even know how that happens, but like she became, I saw it, but I walked away from it. Like, I don't fully understand this. Like she's the embodiment of the moon spirit, or like she absorbs the moon spirit into herself or something. I don't know. I don't fully grasp it, but whatever it is, man, like, I mean, how many guys do you know who can walk around and say, my girlfriend became the moon, right? I mean, most people would just think you're like a schizophrenic, right? They'd just be like, okay, buddy, you stay over there. But with regards to Kyoshi, give me the rundown on this, because I did get a bit of an explanation. Even now, it still kind of confuses me a little bit, but as I understand it from how it was explained to me by Moriah, that Kyoshi is just this ridiculously amazing avatar who was an avatar before, like long before Aang and all that, right? And like the Kyoshi warriors and all that kind of stuff are all modeled after the idea of her as an avatar. From what I can tell, she seems super powerful. Honestly, I find it much easier to relate the avatars to like Jedi and like wielders of the Force to understand how powerful they are, right? So like Aang is powerful. Aang's like I don't know, Anakin at his peak, and like Kyoshi's like Exar Kun, just like unbridled force unleashed, right? Like the ground just shakes beneath her feet. I don't know if that's really the case. I don't know if that's really what's going on, but give me some info, guys. Give me some rundown. I know this has nothing to do with Marvel or DC or whatever. I don't care, right? This is Geek Culture Explained. I can talk about whatever I want to. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Your stance on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Do you love it? Do you think it's whatever? But I'm digging it. The Earth Kingdom, like the Earth Kingdom Emperor, that guy's a bitch. Dude, that guy, man, he's like the biggest punk ever, man. I'm just like, dude, like, are you an emperor or not? Because you're basically like the guy in your entire empire, right? Like you can literally just point to a person and say they have to die, and they will die, right? You are kind of like God among your people, right? And like you've got some, so what is it, the Dai Li just like whispering in his ear, manipulating him. I'm like, grow some balls, man. Get some balls, dude, and like be an emperor, man, because right now you're just being a punk. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section about Avatar: The Last Airbender. The show is really cool. I'm pretty invested in it so far, and I will catch you all later. Peace.